Welcome everyone to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Dyhard, Vachalek. We got a big show today. I want to talk about both Bucks losses, a lot of frustrating things, but we did see some promising things in the last game. I'll touch a little bit on the Brewers. They had a nice victory last night with a grand slam and a two-run home run in the same inning, about 8 runs in that inning to win last night. Continue winning series, and they've been playing really well so far. And the draft is in Green Bay, so I do have the luxury of being able to discuss the full draft. So I'll give you my first-round mock draft, every single pick, along with what the Packers should be looking for and what they should be doing, just to improve their team, because they're oh so close to a Super Bowl, and they just need a couple tweaks. So we got a packed show today, and going to keep it simple of Bucks, Packers, and Bucks, Brewers, and the NFL draft. So stay tuned. Welcome, everyone, to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Vachalek, a.k.a. Dyhard. And Bucks did not look good. They started off super poor last night. Very frustrating game. The starters just aren't clicking. I have no idea why Ryan Rollins didn't play last night. You start every game. Dame's been out for the most part, except a couple where Porter started. And then when Dame comes back, you don't see the floor. I thought he did really well as a fill-in. Obviously, Doc thought he was good enough to start, including starting game one, but he's not good enough to see the floor when Dame's out there. So that was a little confusing to me. Also, the defense is slow. The Pacers seem to be doing whatever they want to do on offense. I'm hoping that this changes coming back to Milwaukee. Maybe, they could rebound, get some things going. Rebounding, they had 30 rebounds between two players last night, which was a lot better than what they looked game one. Game one was awful all the way through from start to finish. Giannis was the only guy that seemed to want to do anything. Last night you did have Portis and some other contributors, but Kevin Porter Jr., he disappeared. Dame, while, we do want to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's coming back from blood clots and, being out for a length of time. It's playoff basketball, and I expect the superstar to come out and, perform better than what he did last night. There were some things you could tell there was a lot of rust on him. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. But if you're going to go full board, you got to be ready. It's playoff time. During the regular season, I'm okay with taking breaks and taking relaxation, but playoff time, you got to wipe that rust off pretty quick and get it to action, especially when you start off allowing 40 points in the first quarter. You didn't set yourself up for any favors for the rest of the game. 11 turnovers as a team in the first quarter as well. It just didn't look good last night. And then Giannis was even making mistakes as well, double dribbles, traveling. It just wasn't a good game from the Bucks, especially at the start. They rebounded nicely and did come back, but as soon as they brought the game within 2 in the final, minute and a half, 2 minutes, the defense again disappeared. And it's just very frustrating to see simple things rear their ugly head as we watch the games. Another quick thing that I thought was interesting was Prince and Lopez played a combined 35 minutes last night. Prince played 19 minutes, Lopez 16, or maybe it's the other way around. But having two starters play under 20 minutes each, Prince 19 and Lopez was 16, having those guys play under 20 minutes and they're starters, clearly shows to me that they shouldn't be starting. Prince is slow. He really didn't do much outside. I mean, he did have 2 steals, which was nice. He had 4 assists and 6 points, and Lopez had some nice rim protection in the first half and finished with 8 points. But 1 rebound from your big guy, as your 7-1, uh, allowing threes continuously. It just wasn't a good game, I thought, from Lopez overall, outside of the nice rim protection, 4 blocks. But the defense overall has to improve. I wouldn't start him. Honestly, I'm not starting Prince or Lopez for game 3. You can give that to Portis and Trent. I know Trent was 1 for 4, 1 of 3 from 3. Didn't really do much of anything last night overall, but either him or Kevin Porter, I'm giving the green light to, and you guys could, one of you guys could play. Outside of Porter, having some struggles last night. He did finish with 9 points, 4 of 9 from the field. Some questionable decisions on him and stuff that he's got to finish. Another thing that kind of frustrated me was AJ Green played 12 minutes only. Missed both his shots, his only 3-point attempt. He had 2 rebounds and assist. Did have a foul, but no points and only 12 minutes. I'm not, the biggest AJ Green fan. I've talked a lot of shit about him, but since he came back from his shoulder injury, AC joint injury, he's redeemed himself nicely as a guy that we can rely on to shoot the ball. And 12 minutes is kind of like a slap in the face to him, especially, Dame was 4 of 13, 2 of 8 from 3. He did have 7 assists, but 14 points. For me, I understand, you're coming back from injury, but you got to do better than that. I mean, you 2 of 8, you're just wasted time out there. Bobby Portis was 6 of 11 from 3. He had 12 rebounds, 28 points, and he played a fantastic game. So game 3, I definitely expect Bobby Portis to start. Trent or Porter could start in front of Taurean Prince. I know Doc liked the height. Prince, Antetokounmpo, Kuzma, Lopez, they're all over 6'7", 6'8". So I get that Doc liked the height, but the thing about it is you need players to perform. You need performers. You're not playoffs is not time to mess with lineups. Playoffs are not time to just stick your head in the sand and think that your coaching is good enough. I saw a lot of people on X last night calling for Doc Rivers' head. I mean, it's been a while that they have been, and last night really reared its ugly head with reality of it's time to let Doc go. I don't care if the Bucks somehow pull out a championship. I'm getting rid of Doc. His lineup constructions are terrible. No, I get there's like a spacing issue or whatever, but Sims and Antetokounmpo are one of the best defensive duos in the NBA since Sims had joined the Bucks, and yet both playoff games we haven't seen them together on the floor at all. It seems like Sims and Portis play together only. Nothing of that makes any sense to me. Kuzma, he did redeem himself with 12 points, but 3 rebounds and assists. Did you really redeem yourself all that much? He did. The 3-point shooting from him is awful. There's a reason Indiana leaves him wide open. The defense overall as a team is just really lacking, pretty much from top to bottom. That's where Sims comes in. He could float. He could keep up with people. And that's where I'm put him and Giannis on the floor. Again, I've said it's not time to try things, but it's time to do things that work, and that's worked. That's definitely worked this year. Some other notes as well is like you'll watch the starters come in and they're awful. I mean, to start the game, it was really, really poor. And then you bring it out to start the third quarter the same way, and it's just a head scratcher of did you make any adjustments or not? After the game, he did say that he's got to make some adjustments on the lineup. Well, that should have happened a while ago. That should have happened game one, halfway through game one. Game two should have had an adjustment. One thing didn't work in game one, you're going to have to make that adjustment immediately. You go down 0-2, well, you got 2 games left. If Indiana wins both the next 2 games and you want to give it time like we're in January or something, you're out. You're done. So just Doc really, really is not, to me, I don't know, I thought he used to be a good coach. I don't know what's going on now, but this isn't it. There's a reason Portis and Gary Trent played 32 and 30 minutes. There's a reason Lopez and Prince sat on the bench. The other thing, too, I wanted to note is it's playoff time. You need to have Giannis or Dame on the floor at all times. Those are your 2 superstars. Keep them on the floor at all times. All times. Indy Sports Nation, we had Big Mike on last week. He said, I expect Dame to look better game 3. I think we all do. It was definitely that rust. I'd say that really, really amped up. But that's to be expected. You just came back from blood clots. That's a life-threatening situation. So I wasn't expecting him to be lights out, but you kind of got to know your poison, pick your battles. If you're not making shots, don't just try to keep shooting the ball, especially playoffs. Dish it out more, create openings. Just, it's the playoffs, so my expectations are extremely high. If this was regular season, I'd have no problem with what he did. For playoffs, though, I definitely am expecting him to rebound mightily, and I expect Doc to run with him or Giannis on the floor at all times for game 3, especially at home. You have to rebound. It's home. You're at home. You have to do that. And it's playoff basketball. Giannis or Dame has to carry the Bucks at all times. You cannot run an all bench lineup anymore. It's not January. It's not, not time to rest. You can rest after the season. But you have to run them minutes. I was really shocked, actually, that Dame did get 37 minutes. I was expecting 20 to 25 just because it was his first game back. But seeing him be able to handle 37 minutes gives me a lot of hope for game 3 with him. Always Arizona, our Arizona show. Alden, he said, I still don't know why Milwaukee hired Doc to begin with. Neither do I. I don't know why. I thought Adrian Griffin was all right. I thought he could have managed the Bucks for the entire season. Last year when Doc came, it just the defense looked like shit. The team looked like shit. It just was bad from left to right. And then, this year as well, it's been nonstop questionable lineup decisions. When we traded for Porter, he would play 12 to 15 minutes a game. And then, he'd go on a run and all of a sudden there's a timeout and now he's out the game, but he's been on fire. It makes no sense to me. Kuzma is very spurty, but he'll get hot and then all of a sudden he's out the game. It's just, questionable stuff all year. And it just looks like Doc doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know. I thought you could kind of see why Philadelphia didn't go as well as it should have been when he was there as a coach, and that's kind of really exposing itself, at least to Bucks fans and us and me especially, is like his lineup construction is he really doesn't know how to put the lineup together, and what he should have been doing for the last month of the season is figuring out the lineups. I understand you didn't have Sims and Dame, but you still should have been figuring out what works and what doesn't. Lopez's defense does not work unless he's underneath the rim. Taurean Prince just doesn't work at all on defense. He's slow. Offense, he's all right, but even on offense, he's not, the best. I definitely think that he would be a bench player on most teams. Portis has looked good. I get, again, he was out for, a month with the suspension, 25 games and stuff. So it was a little hard to get him, going. But, he's the sixth man. He's going to, play minutes. And last year, granted, it was without certain players and stuff, but he had averaged, I think, 16 and 11 last year in the postseason against Indiana. He's known to get rebounds. He's known to score points. And Portis is, so you know what you're going to get from him. Also, just Andre Jackson Jr., he's known for defense. Him just disappearing after the All-Star break's been a big question mark completely. Like, why are you not playing? It's like the dunk contest really pissed Doc off where he's like, well, no, now you're benched because you couldn't complete the dunk. I mean, he did, but it was awful. I don't even know if he got like a 30. I have no idea what his score was. But he had no chance of winning after that. I mean, the Bucks didn't shoot that bad. Shot 50% last night, still lost by 8. 15 turnovers to 8, that's a big deal. And now the turnovers you can't blame on Doc, but, a lot of the decisions lineup-wise not been good at all. Too many threes allowed. The one thing I will note is, sorry, Big Mike, but I think Halliburton is probably the most hated player in Milwaukee of any opponent. Maybe Chris Paul might have that, but right now it's definitely Halliburton. So I think I speak for all Bucks fans who don't like him, that it was fantastic to see him get on the list of most overrated player, voted the most overrated player in the league. And then I saw a post. I'm not sure who posted it, if Indiana Pacers did or some basketball page or something, but they posted the 21 points and 12 assists. It said, who's overrated? Halliburton's, trying to prove the haters wrong. Well, you shot 8 of 19 and 3 of 10 from 3. So, I mean, you shoot 19 shots. Yeah, you should you should have some points. You should definitely hit 20-some points. The assist now is good, but, when everyone's making threes, you get that. Siakam had 11 rebounds. Outside of that, the Bucks had out-rebound the Pacers, but it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. But before I really want to finish up and wrap up about the Bucks, I'll talk about Game 1 as well. I do want to hear from our sponsors real quick: Planet Jerky, IE Sports Radio, Seal the Deal, and Vital Apparel. Not in that order, but just want to hear a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get back to Bucks talk before we got about 10 minutes left of Bucks talk, and then we'll mention a little bit about the Brewers, and then we'll get into my mock draft. Really excited drafts tomorrow night in Green Bay, so if you are able to get up there, they got a lot of fun activities, a lot of things going on, a lot of places to go to. So if you could get up there, I definitely recommend going up there. If you're already up there, prime time right there. You're listening to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Wisconsin Whistle. Again, I'm your host, Dan Vachalek, a.k.a. Dyhard. You can follow me at Dyhard, D-Y-H-A-R-D, or you can follow the show account on X at WISC Whistle IESR. Again, that's at WISC Whistle IESR. We also have never mind. So we'll jump back on to the Bucks. So just some notes as well that I wasn't able to talk about. The second quarter in game one was really the deciding factor. Again, it just seems like early on the Bucks like to dig themselves into a hole. We're down 8 at the end of the first. then got outscored 16 points in the second quarter and just never came back from that in a 19-point loss for game one. Kyle Kuzma had 22 minutes, posted zeros. He did have 2 fouls, though, but posted zeros all the way across the board. That's unacceptable. Torian Prince, he had 1 field goal attempt, which was a 3-point attempt, missed it, 20 minutes, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and a turnover. Jericho Sims, only 2 rebounds, a block. He was actually all right. I thought he was a little better offensively. Kevin Porter made 8 free throws, had 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 12 points. Gary Trent had 14 points, 6 of 11, 2 of 7 from 3. AJ Green seemed like, 15 points. He did have 5 fouls, though, 5 of 11 from 3. And then you had Giannis, 36 points, 12 rebounds. He only had 1 assist, and that's because nobody else could make any shots. They shot 24% from 3. Indiana shot 51% 52% from the field. Out-rebounded the Bucks by 2, had 13 more assists, so they were able to freely move the ball. Also, the Bucks had 10 turnovers to 5 for Indiana. So what we saw in game 1 also extended into game 2. However, some players did do better. Kyle Kuzma actually put some stats up, while Ryan Rollins did play 19 minutes. He played 0 last night. Bobby Portis, only 4 points, 0 of 4 from 3, and 2 of 8 from the field in game 1. Definitely rebounded nicely in game 2 and kind of went off, and that's more of what we expect in the playoffs. He did have 8 boards, though, in game 1. Gary Trent, though, is a shooter. AJ Green's a shooter. Kevin Porter, I understand you're having a little, first playoffs, want to do too much, whatever the case is, but you really need to step it up, play like you played in the final part of the season, final stretch, that 8-game winning streak. If he plays like that ever since that comeback against Minnesota, even some games before that, we'll be rolling, we'll be cooking. But he plays like he played the past 2 nights. I don't know. But Giddy Sims, that 10-minute mark, I think is positive. As to note, he was +3. Bobby Portis was +3. Andre Jackson, well, I'm not even going to say that because he played a minute, but those 2 players were positive in their plus-minus, despite losing by 19 and being down by 20-plus points in the game. The largest lead was 28 for Indiana. So, to have some players be positive is very, very, positive, I guess, to see. But game 2 is just more, just seemed like more of the same. Indiana was able to move the ball around freely. They had 30 assists as a team, 8 steals. Bucks had double the amount of turnovers and 11. Again, you look at it, okay, they had 16. Wow, they really turned the ball. That all came in the first quarter. They had 11 in the first quarter. So, 5 for 3 quarters is actually a pretty good number. Conceding 15 points off the turnovers compared to only, scoring 5 off turnovers is, again, another big part. There was a couple double techs assessed, a flagrant. That's a note that I also want to mention. The exact thing that Giannis told the entire team not to do. Don't, try not to get kicked out and don't do stupid things. Porter Jr. got caught doing a stupid thing, sticking his arm out, trying to trip. I can't even remember who it was, but trying to trip the pacer, and that ended up turning into a flagrant. Now, I understand that that's a flagrant. I agree 100%. Give that a flagrant. That that's unacceptable. It shouldn't be doing that. But being able to grab around the neck shoulder area of a superstar from behind the back, and that's a common foul, is just egregious. It's asinine to not give that a flagrant or a technical as well. I have no idea how Giannis didn't acquire that, but I thought that's just you got to call it. You got to call the game a little better. There were other times as well where Kuzma ran into the paint 3 different times and couldn't draw a foul despite getting bodied while he was down there. I mean, he scored all 3 times, but couldn't get a call. There was a time when Dame was clearly shooting. I mean, clear as day shooting the ball, and they said it was a ground foul. Dame just never gets that call. He never gets the active shooting call, which is just really, really frustrating when you're watching. And you never see him get to the line, on an attempted shot when it should be. That should have been 3 free throws. But then, okay, they're not going to give it to Dame. They're really tight. Whatever. That's, you allow it to happen. But then, they punch the ball away from a pacer, and he just flails his arms up in the air, and all of a sudden after he flails his arms up, they say, oh, it's a shooting foul. He didn't even try to shoot. The ball got punched out, and he was trying to move the ball. I mean, and they called that a shooting foul. It's like, man, we need to come back to Milwaukee because clearly, there were points last night where I definitely thought the Bucks were facing the referees as well. Again, they didn't play well, so I'm not blaming the refs for this, but you got to call, a little bit of a better game. I thought there were certain things that they clearly missed. There were certain things that were not even on both sides, and that's important. But both teams did finish with 19 fouls. Both teams had 2 technicals. One team was 19 of 19 from the free throw line, though, and the other was 13 of 19. Dame was 4 of 5, Giannis was 6 of 10, and Kuzma was 2 of 2. Bobby missed his only free throw, and Gary Trent made his only free throw. So, I mean, when you look at the Pacers, Siakam was 6 of 6, Neesmith, Turner, Nembhard, Halliburton, all 2 of 2. Mathurin was 5 of 5. Everybody, all starters across the board got to the line, all made their free throws. You had all starters score double-digit points. I mean, you had all starters play over 30 minutes. The Pacers really were able to do whatever they wanted to do last night, and it's just unacceptable to watch. And Bucks really have to do a lot better. Doc has to make a lot of adjustments, and it needs to happen Friday. Down below, Game 3 is Friday at 7 p.m. Game 4 is Sunday at 8:30 p.m. These are Central Times. Why Sunday's at 8:30? No idea. It's in Milwaukee as well. I feel bad for Indiana because that's a 9:30 tip. What we're doing there, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you could find somebody else to have that time slot, like maybe a West Coast team. So switching gears, I just want to jump on the Brewers real quick. Brewers looked great last night. They looked super good. Jose Quintana lowered his ERA under 1, pitched excellent last night. Yelich had his 5th career grand slam. Bauer had a 2-run home run. They won 11-3. I mean, it was just a dominating performance last night. They were able to win the series against the A's with a dominating performance on Sunday, 14-1, where they stole 6 stolen bases. They had 6 stolen bases in the first inning. Ran all over Oakland. Jeffrey Springs does have a slower release time, and it also helped that the catcher Langeliers wanted to throw the ball into the outfield continuously. They also won the series against the Tigers as well, and the Brewers just seem to be on a roll. They're 13-11, game and a half behind Chicago, who again also on a roll. Just to note of Chicago. Oh, no, that's the Brewers. But I think Jock Peterson's on the let's see if this. Yeah, okay, this works. Is he? No, I don't know what team he's on. Jock Peterson, but I just saw something like he's 0 for 41 this year. I thought he was on the I don't know what team he's on. I thought he was on the Cubs. But so never mind that. But I did see something that said he was 0 for 41 to start the year, which is one of the worst starts to a season of all time. Tonight we got game 3, though, of this 4-game stretch. You win tonight, you just got to win tomorrow and, take advantage. Freddie Peralta is going to be on the mound. He boasts a 1.91 ERA, a 1.02 whip, 33 Ks to 9 walks. Does have 3 home runs, though, and it's going to be a tough battle with Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants. 2.4 ERA, 1.03 whip, 38 Ks to 7 walks. So that's something to monitor. Jackson Churio has been very good this year. Christian Yelich is getting his batting average up, which is really nice to see. And then Bryce Turang, he had, I believe, 4 singles last night. He had 4 singles last night, and that was great to just, see that you don't have to just be a power hitter to score runs. You don't have to do, you don't have to really just, smack the ball as hard as you can. You could really score and win by just getting on base, stealing bases, doing the little stuff. And that really helps. The last 10 games, the Brewers are 5-5 with a 246 batting average, 2.99 ERA, and have outscored their opponents by 15 runs. Also to note, we saw Nestor Cortez was transferred to the 60-day disabled list, or injured list, rather. Now, you might think, okay, well, did he have a setback? No, he just isn't rebounding as fast as there was hope for. He still hasn't started throwing. So because he hasn't started throwing yet, the timeline is going to be about in that 60-day window, hence the move. Logan Henderson, sadly, had to go down to AAA to make room, though, because the bullpen just, bullpen hasn't been what we expect the bullpen to be. And Craig Yoho came up. So they say he's got one of the game's best changeups out of AAA. All videos I've seen, his changeup is fantastic. He's got a sweeper with the 20-inch break. He's got an upper 70s. It's called the cambio, I guess, but it's 18 inches of run the other way of the sweeper, and he throws that about 50% of the time, and he allowed no earned runs in 9 2/3 innings. I thought he pitched great. I really liked what I saw in game 1 against the Giants. He did make an appearance in the 8th inning. Now, there was a runner on 3rd and 1st, and there was a fly ball hit to center field, and Rice Hopkins ended up cutting it off at home. I think he should have allowed it to go to home. He cut it off, ended up getting the runner at second. However, a run did score, so Yoho got charged with an earned run because of that. But it definitely would have been a play at the plate. And, while he did make a smart move, you did allow a run to score. Now you got to balance that out. If you allow the play at the plate, is that run that big of a deal? Do you want to extend the inning to try to save that run, or do you just want to end the inning and you'll allow the run? So it's a hit or miss on that side. But Brewers have been looking well, and it's going to be a tough battle tonight, but it should be a great game. Brewers offense has been doing very well. Pitching, you got Freddie Peralta, your ace out there. Obviously, you're facing Logan Webb. I think that's their ace. So definitely some stuff to watch. I really want to get into this, though. I've talked too much about the Bucks. But the NFL draft, that's tomorrow night. It's in Green Bay. It'll be tomorrow, round 1, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, and we'll close out 4 through 7 on Saturday. So there's just some draft notes that I have. So I guess the big topic that I've been reading this week, at least, is Abdul Carter's low lean body mass number. Teams have a sign of concern for that. It's not going to affect his draft stock, but it is something to monitor, wondering, if he's going to be able to stay healthy. The Texans, while it hasn't really been broadcasted too much in the news, there's words around that they're looking to move up for an offensive lineman, so I would not be shocked to see them, try to move up and see how everything goes. I know they're probably going to want to jump the Dolphins, who are also looking for offensive line help. I don't think they're going to try to trade with the Patriots to get Will Campbell. I just don't think that's going to happen. However, I do think the Texans will probably move up into the early teens to grab a offensive lineman, especially if Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell go off the board. You're definitely going to see the Texans move up and try to grab Membu, our man Membu. However, I will get to my mock though, and I'll just say it. I do have our man Membu falling to the Texans at 25. My mock does not have trades. I hate predicting trades because it will throw off the entire mock draft if your trade's off. Basically, right now, the word is from Shedeur Sanders. I know that's a huge topic. He could go pretty much anywhere from number 3 to the Giants all the way to the mid-second round. Some teams are very high on him. Some teams are extremely low on him. Some teams think that he's nothing but a backup quarterback. Other teams think that he could be a starter, and he just needs to get away from his dad to really expand and grow. Now, there's been some news that the Broncos have been trying to trade up and trade around in first round. Some people think that that's for Ashton Genty, which outside of Ward, Abdul Carter, and Travis Hunter, that's pretty much the last top prospect you have in this draft. Maybe classify Tyler Warren in there, but I wouldn't. But it's pretty much those 4 at the top of the draft. And then after that, you have just pick, it's not a bad draft, but everything I've been reading, this is pretty much the most chaotic expected draft of the in years. Speaking of the draft, though, for times, round 1 starts at 7 p.m. Central on Thursday. Rounds 2 through 3 starts at 6 p.m. Central, and rounds 4 through 7 starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Right now, there's 16 players that are going to attend. Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama. Jahed Campbell, linebacker from Alabama. Offensive tackle Will Campbell. Abdul Carter, wide receiver Matthew Golden. He will be there. Titaroa McMillan will be there. Cam Ward obviously is going to be there. Shamur Stewart will be there. Malachi Starks, Georgia safety. Josh Simmons, Ohio State offensive tackle. Jalen Milroe will be there. I thought that was interesting as I saw a lot of grades having him in round 2. However, seeing that he got an invite to the draft kind of shows to me that he probably is going to be in round 1. I don't have him going in round 1. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he does sneak in there, especially if you see, some things happening with Shedeur and Jackson Dart going. Ashton Genty, Will Johnson, both those guys are going to be there. Mason Graham, Travis Hunter. As of note for Travis Hunter, his dad did get the ability to go up there, which is a very nice story. I know his dad was incarcerated and is on probation, so he has a travel restriction. I don't believe he was able to go to the Heisman ceremony, but he is going to be able to be in attendance and see his son get drafted, which is great. But those are the players that have been announced as of today that I see. So basically, there's a lot of needs for this team. Another interesting note I thought. So the Saints have been trying to trade up in round 2. The prediction is probably for a quarterback right away, maybe a Jalen Milroe. Maybe a Shedeur Sanders if he's available, maybe a Jackson Dart if he doesn't go in round 1. But the Saints just not sure of what's going to go on with Derek Carr, as it was noted that he might miss all of the next season. Spencer Rattler, I don't believe it's going to be their starter. I don't think they look at him as a true starter. Another team to look for to possibly draft a quarterback at some point are the Minnesota Vikings. It's just a gut feeling I have. I just feel like they're going to add a depth position there, grab somebody. I don't think that that's going to be early on, but maybe a Kyle McCord or something. Maybe even a Graham Mertz. but I believe they're going to draft somebody at least probably day 3. That's my expectation for that. The other question that's pretty much a big question, though, is Travis Hunter. Is he going to play wide receiver or corner? I definitely think that he needs to focus on defense and let them fill in, have snaps for offense. Defense has a lot more preparation. You need a lot more practice to have everything flow. You could fill in positions at wide receiver a lot easier than you could fill him in at corner, and that's really how I view it. We'll see. We'll see how the Giants look at it. We'll see how the Browns look at it. Originally, when I made my mock, I thought the Browns were going to go with another edge player. Based on everything that I'm hearing, though, that's not going to happen. Pretty much the top 4 seems to be locked. So the top 4 that I have, and the Titans need every position. I mean, you could just say they need everything, so they wouldn't go wrong with anything. But it seems like they're pretty locked on Cam Ward. That's also my mock. Then the Browns, Travis Hunter, that's pretty much a lock so far from what I'm hearing. Abdul Carter will be going to the Giants. However, watch out for the Giants. Also watch for the Browns, some possible trades. They've been shopping the number 2 and number 3 picks around. Probably just seeing what they're going to get, and probably will stick with what they're drafting. But if you want to stockpile picks, or if you want to try to capitalize on next year's draft, this isn't a bad decision to try to move the pick. However, based on everything I'm reading right now, the Giants are going to grab Abdul Carter, Browns, Travis Hunter. The Giants are another team to watch for Shedeur Sanders. They just recently brought him in, had a lot of meetings with him and everything. Kind of what I've read and heard have been kind of mixed on that. Some people believe that the Giants brought him in just to see what he has available, especially maybe in round 2. Other people believe that the Giants brought him in just to check off a box of we're not missing anything, not drafting him. Other people think that they brought him in so that they will draft him pick 3. However, I don't think he's going that far. I don't think he's going in round 1. I'll just be honest. I think he'll probably be at the start of round 2. The Saints are a team to watch, though, as well, seeing what they do. You also have a couple others, like the Steelers are a big team that we're going to have to watch out for. The Rams could possibly be in the mix for a quarterback at some point. Are the Jets going to be in on a quarterback, even though they do have Justin Fields? Do they want to get, just backup options? All those are going to be monitoring situations. The Browns are definitely one to monitor at quarterback as well. Want to move on from Deshaun Watson. It seems like they're just trying to get some stopgaps into there right now until they can open up cap space. Another thing to watch, though, is Kirk Cousins. You need to really monitor him. He did want to wait until after the draft, at least round 1, from what I've heard. Round 1 was minimum. So we could possibly see some Kirk Cousins activity Thursday night after the draft, or Friday morning, Friday during the draft. You just got to monitor that Kirk Cousins situations. I definitely think that we'll see something happen with that. The Patriots, I have Will Campbell. Outside of that group of 4, because the Patriots really need, offensive tackle. They do need wide receiver, edge, linebacker. Outside of that 4 is where this draft is going to go just haywire, I believe. I'll break down pretty much everything that I have, and we'll go from there. Mason Graham seems to be like he's trending towards the Jaguars from what I've been reading. However, a lot of people think that they want to go with Ashton Genty as well. The reason with Ashton Genty that they might want to go, if they do want to go with Ashton Genty, is because they give Trevor Lawrence some space and ability to, have something to work off of. It's a lot easier for Trevor Lawrence to work off of, 2nd and 5 or a 3rd and 2 than it is to work from 3, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 2nd and 9, just because he has, the running game isn't there. And Ashton Genty is, again, that blue chip player that this draft doesn't have many of. However, I don't think they're going to go with that. I think Mason Graham's going to be the pick. They have needs at offensive line, well, both lines of scrimmage, offense and defense, corner, wide receiver, and running back. Defensive, sorry, I was reading the Raiders. The Jaguars have defensive tackle, defensive end, safety, linebacker, and wide receiver needs. With the big defensive needs, though, is why I think Mason Graham is going to be that guy. He was a game wrecker at Michigan, so that would be a great pick for the Jaguars. Get a big guy up front who could really wreak havoc. And, Larry commented about back to the Bucks. He said if the Bucks somehow lose this series, the next show should be called the Wisconsin Whistle Buck the World, pretty much. The Wisconsin Cry for Help, probably. The Fire Doc Rivers show, because I'll probably be all in on firing him ASAP. But switch it back to the NFL draft for the Raiders. I have Ashton Genty going there. I think he would fit perfectly. They need a running back. Really would help the offense. They have needs on both the lines, corner, wide receiver, and running back. So getting Ashton Genty is going to be a big thing for the Raiders, I believe. That should be a lock. There's teams to watch out for, though. Bears are one team to watch out to trade for. They also need a running back. I think they really want to pair somebody with Caleb Williams. So I don't think that they're going to end up trading up to get Ashton Genty. However, Marion Hampton should be a name to watch as well at number 10. And there's another guy named Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. They could get him an early day too. Just a couple names to watch for the Bears, but I definitely think the Bears are going to be grabbing somebody that's a running back, and it's going to be either round 1 or round 2. As Packer fans, we don't want to see the Bears do anything positive, so hopefully they screw everything up and don't pick who they don't pick a running back until round 6, and it just doesn't work. So the Panthers, they have needs at safety, corner, linebacker, and edge, pretty much the entire defense, and that's where our defense will start outside of Mason Graham and Abdul Carter. I have a run on defense right here. 3 edge players. I think the Panthers are going to go with Shemar Stewart. I think James Pierce, outside of Abdul Carter, is the closest thing to Abdul Carter. I think James Pierce is fantastic, has a ton of talent, just an absolute game wrecker, can get to the quarterback with ease. However, he has a lot of character issues, not practicing as hard, has an ego, just doesn't seem to take the best route with letting his voice be heard inside the organization with certain things. But I have him going to the Bears at 10, and in between them, I have the Saints grabbing Jalen Walker. One thing I read today actually on Jalen Walker is a guy said, it was a scout, I believe. He said usually they ask players like, if there was any player on your team, who would you take with from college? And the funny thing about the Georgia Bulldogs is they do have a lot of players that could be drafted, but every single player named Jalen Walker is the guy that they would take with them. He was that known, that positive. He was that much of a leader for Georgia. So I believe the Saints are going to grab him. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers or the Saints, if the Panthers switched up and grabbed him as well, just because a lot of character things, especially in the draft, kind of raise people's players' values up. So that's some things to watch for. The Saints do need a quarterback, though. So, again, like I said, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, those are 3 players to watch for. Tyler Show from Louisville, he's another guy to watch for. I don't believe he's in round 1 at all, but early round 2, that's something to watch for. Saints also need offensive line and corner help. Bears need a running back, edge, offensive tackle, and D-line help. I think they're going to get an edge guy in James Pierce. That outside of the character issues, I think that's a fantastic pick for the Bears. I hate it as a Packer fan, but early on, I really wanted the Packers to grab him. I'm still very high on him. Usually, when I'm very high on a player, I was very high on Joe Mixon. That turned out well. Usually when I'm high on a player, it turns out pretty. I really want the Packers to grab this guy. It turns out pretty well, especially when they don't. 49ers, I have Will Johnson, corner. They need defensive end, tackle, offensive tackle, and a corner. So I think they're going to grab a corner. That's going to be the first corner out there. Something to note on Will Johnson, though, is they're not sure how healthy he's going to be to start off the season. However, they do think he will be in training camp, so that's good. That's positive news. The Cowboys, I think, are going to grab a running back. They do have need at running back, a big need actually at running back, wide receiver as well, corner, edge, and offensive line. I think they're going to grab Amarian Hampton. It just makes the most sense for me. Or they might, watch out for Titaroa McMillan as well. He could go. Matthew Golden as well. He could fly out to the Cowboys. Really, I expect a wide receiver or a running back. Somehow I forgot the Jets. I missed pick 7. I'm moving too fast apparently, but Tyler Warren's going there. That's pretty much a lock. Tight end, right tackle, defensive tackle, and safety are what they're in need of. And I really think Tyler Warren is going to be that guy that they go with. Every team, I believe, should have a solid tight end as a foundational piece. And that's what Tyler Warren's going to bring. I think the Jets do have a ton of potential. Give a check down option to Justin Fields. I think that's pretty much a lock to go in there. At number 13, I have the Dolphins grabbing Kelvin Banks Jr. They do have needs at offensive guard and tackle, corner, safety, and DT. And it just makes the most sense. I think Kelvin Banks Jr. is the second best tackle in the draft. Our man Membu could also go up there. Josh Simmons is another name. But I don't think those guys are going to go before Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks was dealing with some injury situations as well that, some teams might scoff at a little bit, but that's definitely a name to watch. Again, like I said, the Texans, you definitely watch for them moving up. They might try to move up ahead of the Dolphins to try to steal Kelvin Banks or try to get Membu, and thinking, they do know the Dolphins have a big need for that. The Colts, they have a huge need for tight end, Colston Loveland. I think that's a no-brainer. I think some teams to watch out for with him would be the Chargers, and another team which, I saw on ESPN that there was a prediction for that. It was kind of like a bold prediction, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense, and I was thinking it before I read it anyway. Possibly could see the Ravens try to trade up to grab him as well. Just with how last year went, Mark Andrews started off really slow. Isaiah Likely was kind of hit or miss. They're both in contract years. I definitely think Loveland, he has that connection to Jim Harbaugh. So watching the Chargers for that as well should be something to note. Chargers do need more weapons. Definitely think a wide receiver for the Chargers makes the most sense. However, that is a player to note. The Falcons, I have Michael Williams on the edge. I think they need edge and defensive tackle bad, and then they also need a center. But I think just going with defensive line for the first couple of rounds for the Falcons makes the most sense there. Cardinals, they're going to go with another wide receiver in the first round. It's going to be the first true wide receiver. Travis Hunter's not counting on this. Taken. However, it is you need to note Emeka Egbuka Matthew Golden. Those are two wide receivers as well that could go right away. Bolden out of Mizzou that could also go first round. So there is options. However, Tito or McMillan, I think, would be the best wide receiver in this draft. The other thing as well that you have to watch out for with him is he said he does not like to watch film. Having him and Kyler Murray together, who they had a problem with Kyler Murray playing video games instead of watching film. And then you have a wide receiver that doesn't watch film. That could cause some problems. However, I think him and Marvin Harrison Jr. would match up very nicely and give them that wide receiver that they need. My favorite corner in the draft, super, super high on him. I think he should be the first corner out there. However, I've been reading a lot of things that have Will Johnson as that top corner, how the NFL views him as well. However, I'm super high on Jahdae Barron out of Texas, and I think the Bengals grab him at 17. The Bengals have needs at edge, interior line, and safety, along with corner. They're getting Al Golden, the defensive coordinator out of Notre Dame, who will be taking over the Bengals defense and getting a solid, I think, in my personal opinion, the best defensive back in the draft, and Jahdae Barron. That's going to do a lot. That's going to solve a lot of problems. You can't keep having shootouts, having Joe Burrow score 40, 50 points a game. You really need to get, defense situated there and start limiting points scored against you, because it's not sustainable to put up 40, 50 points a game and be in shootouts. It's just not sustainable, especially if you want to win a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow. The Seahawks, I think they have needs on the offensive line, especially the interior, the edge, and the safety. I think the Seahawks go with Tyler Booker, a guard. Buccaneers, I have them going with Jihad Campbell. They have needs at edge, corner, and interior linebacker. The thing with Jahid Campbell, though, that could drop him, he had shoulder surgery after the combine. Most teams project that he's going to start the season on the PUP. That could really drop his stock in this draft. Now, if a lot of teams think that, that's going to happen, the Buccaneers don't want to deal with that. I think they'll probably go with an edge, or they could go with Hairston, Mike Green, Walter Nolan, Azari Thomas. They have a lot of options that they could go with. They could also go with Malachi Starks. Just get another safety out there. They have a ton of options. I mean, just a lot of options that they can go with. I really, I see a lot of different options for the Buccaneers. They could get another wide receiver with some guys aging out here. It's just a lot of things that they could do, but that's definitely somebody to watch out for. Nick Amanawari, he's another guy that they could grab. But I think that the Buccaneers really should go with Jahid Campbell, deal with him being on PUP to start out the season. And the Broncos, that's a team that needs to watch out for on moving up. However, Travion Henderson, I feel, fits that need for a jack of all trades. He kind of reminds me a little bit. I'm not going to say totally, but he does remind me a little bit of I can't think of his name. Their running back, and he does remind me of the Saints running back a little bit as well. So that's definitely something. I can't think of his name, and that's going to really piss me off because I know his name, Alvin Kamara. Sorry. I couldn't think of that name, just did not come to me, but he kind of reminds me of Alvin Kamara, and I think that Sean Payton's really going to like that. It's definitely something that he's looking for to pair well with Bo Nix. I also think a wide receiver would be in the mix as well. Luther Burden is an option. Egbuka, again, Matthew Golden. If Matthew Golden falls that far, I really wouldn't be surprised if they grab him, but I think their biggest need is running back. They also can grab can trade up is what they've been looking for as well to grab a running back. If they think that the Cowboys would probably grab Amari and Hampton, you could see them trade up that way. You could see the Broncos also try to get into the top 5 to grab Ashton Genty. It's just a lot to watch for with the Buccaneers there. Now the Steelers are the biggest interesting pick, and there's been rumors of a quarterback, possibly Shedeur Sanders being that quarterback, possibly the Steelers grabbing Jackson Dart, possibly them grabbing Jalen Milroe, and their big need is quarterback. They really don't have one right now. They also have a need at running back, defensive tackle, and corner. And we're going to take a quick break before I expose who I think the Steelers are going to pick. You're listening to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
How we doing, sports fans? This is Christian Harvey, your host of Gritsville, USA, your go-to show for all things Detroit and Michigan here on IE Sports Radio. Whether you're here for Gritty Lions talk, getting pumped up for the great Detroit sports renaissance, or hating on your neighbor depending on if they were green or blue, we got you covered. Whether you're in the East, West, or Central, we got you covered. Join me as we tackle through all that the great state of Michigan has to offer in the world of sports. Catch me, Christian Harvey, each week on Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Wisconsin Whistle. I got about, got some picks left here. Steelers, Jackson Dart. That is my pick, Jackson Dart. I think they're going to go with a quarterback. I think Jackson Dart I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft class. I think that's going to be the best decision for the Steelers. Definitely grab that. Chargers, they need a wide receiver. They need one bad. They need one for a couple years. Quinton Johnston, he's not the guy. He hasn't shown any flashes out of TCU for 2 years now. Mika Egbuka, that's my prediction. I think that's who they're going to go with. Matthew Golden has elite speed, 4.29 40. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him go up there either. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to the Cowboys either. I was hearing today that I guess he's fielded calls from Jerry Jones, a couple-minute phone call from Jerry Jones earlier. Another player to watch is Luther Burden III. I think, he's definitely a guy that could go in round one. He has a lot of juice after, Yak. We always speak of Yak. That's a big Yak guy right there. After the Chargers, we have the Packers. Now, the Packers, we pretty much have a lot of needs. Offensive tackle is one, defensive tackle. There's been a lot of rumors about wide receivers going to the Packers as well. Edge, they definitely need an edge. I've seen a lot of mocks with Packers selecting an edge. But my pick for the Packers is going to be Maxwell Harrison, a corner out of Kentucky. I think he's pretty much mirrors what Jair Alexander is, except he could be healthier. He could actually see the floor or see the field consistently. And I think this would be just the perfect pick for them. Speed, ball skills, 4.28 40, the fastest 40-yard dash at the combine. He had 6 interceptions and 13 pass breakups in the final 2 seasons at Kentucky. I think he's just good. I think, honestly, he has the potential to be up there with Jahdae Barron as the best corner out of the draft. But the Packers definitely got to go with Maxwell Harrison at corner. Speaking of the Packers, though, they never really – it just always seems like they pick a different guy than what I really want them to go with. So I'm not expecting this pick. I'd be actually surprised if they make this pick, but that's what I think the Packers should go with. Their next pick, before I get to the rest of the first round, their next pick is going to be pick 54. I think that's where really, you should look for Savion Williams out of TCU, Jalen Nolan out of Iowa State. Maybe look at Oluwafemi Oladejo. Look at him. Look at some edge. JT Tumaloa. He's slotted to go around that time frame as well. I look at Jack Beck out of TCU, another wide receiver out of TCU. Look at Jonas Savanea, a guard out of Arizona. I saw a mock that had Tyler Booker falling all the way to 47. If he falls that far, that's another guy to look for. Benjamin Morrison at corner. If they don't go round 1, Benjamin Morris or Siobhan Revel would be options at corner if they don't pick one in the first round. I don't think that the Packers need to play any games. Grab a corner ASAP round 1. Go with a wide receiver or an edge player round 2. And that's going to be the top needs for the Packers. I don't think that you really have to go and get another young wide receiver unless you think that he's going to be the prime wide receiver. It is going to take that number one role. I really don't see that out of what's available. Matthew Golden, I don't think it would be the Packers' number 1. I think he's, with his speed, you could utilize him differently. I don't think there's a true number 1 for the Packers in this draft. I just don't. It's not speaking down on any of these wide receivers. However, I don't think they're going to fit the true number 1 that the Packers are looking for that they don't already have or that they could work with. In round 3, I saw a mock that had TJ Sanders, a defensive tackle out of South Carolina. I might actually go with an offensive lineman in round 3 for the Packers. Dylan Fairchild should be around. Charles Grant should be around. You have some other options in round 3. Shamar Turner, defensive lineman, he's also an option. Joshua Farmer could be an option. If Jack Sawyer's around, I would not be opposed to Jack Sawyer getting drafted. Jared Wilson's the center/guard out of Georgia. I've seen a lot of people say that he's the top-ranked true center in this draft. Prohibit having to move the offensive line around too much. You get your replacement center. There's options. Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. I've seen him go very high. I've also seen him not go until round 3. Those are all options. Ariante Ursuri out of Minnesota. I don't think he'll land that far, but that's another option to look out for. at tackle for for the Packers in round 3. And then, Anthony Belton out of NC State, I think he's probably going to go early second round, maybe mid second round, but that's another pick that the Packers should definitely be looking for. And then it's just about filling. With this draft, it's a lot more depth options, depth positions. Need another corner. You could grab a wide receiver later. Just grab some depth positions, offensive line depth and stuff like that, just to fill in spots. In definitely day 3 is going to be that. This draft isn't very top heavy. It's more of depth options that you're going to get. But back to round 1, I have Greg Zabel, a guard. He's a lot of talk about him. I think Vikings are going to grab him. Vikings do have that guard need. That's their biggest need outside of defensive tackle, safety, and corner. Getting Greg Zabel, he could flow around the offensive line, has played 4 different positions on the offensive line. That's definitely a great move for the Vikings. Obviously, we don't like that move, but it makes the most sense for the Vikings. Another player to watch for is Donovan Jackson, a guard out of Ohio State. He's another guy to watch for. Zabel could also go to the Seahawks. I've seen him. I've seen Zabel be classified as the best guard in the draft. Again, is great footwork, great techniques, a lot of power. Yes, he did go to an FCS school in North Dakota State, but again, he proved a lot at the Senior Bowl. He played every different position on the offensive line. He can move around. Definitely is somebody to watch for early. But I think he's going to fall down to the Vikings. And the Texans, again, are that team to monitor. They need offensive line help. Their offensive line was not cutting it last year. They just lost their offensive tackle, and that's their biggest need, along with guard and wide receiver. I don't think they're going to honestly, they might go with Matthew Golden if he's available, which I have him still available right now, but I don't think that they're trying to move up for an offensive lineman. That's been the word so far. Arman Membu, I've seen him go very early in mocks. I've seen him go, the second offensive lineman go in mocks. I've seen him I've seen him go to the Jets, but I've seen him go very early. However, I think that he's going to fall a little bit, and I think the Texans are going to be able to land him. However, I would not be shocked if the Texans move up and pick him. I think that they're going to, get scared, especially with this 15th, 16th pick. Definitely going to move up. The Rams, I have grabbing Matthew Golden. I think that's going to be a perfect fit to try to really try to replace Cooper Kupp. He went up there to Seattle, so I think that's going to be definitely a spot to fit Matthew Golden in. He could pair super nicely with Puka Nacua, and I think that gives Matthew Stafford a line to work with. Other options for the Rams would be corner, inside linebacker, and look for a quarterback as well. I think that they're going to probably go day 3 with a quarterback. Again, this could be a team that looks for Graham Mertz, maybe day 3. Will Howard is going to look for somebody just as depth, but I think they might go the quarterback second round or pretty early. However, they do need corner and an inside linebacker. I think they go with the wide receiver, though, and just keep going with a powerful, flexible offense with a lot of speed. The Ravens, they don't have a lot of needs. They do have a need at safety, guard, and edge, though. I think Malachi Starks is going to be that guy. I saw him in a mock actually today on ESPN. Field Yates had him going to the Ravens. They pretty much, that's the free safety. I think he'll pair super nicely with Kyle Hamilton. He's got great ball skills, versatility. He moves around. Malachi Starks did a lot of nice things at Georgia. Another added bonus was he played in the SEC, which is very tough. They say the SEC is like the NFL. So that's another added bonus. The Lions, I've seen Mikael Williams go there. I've seen other defensive linemen. However, I think they're going to go with Walter Nolan. I really like Walter Nolan as a defensive lineman prospect. He definitely can go way earlier, though. That's a name to watch for early on in the draft as well. You know, mid round or whatever. Walter Nolan's definitely that guy, though. You know, he's disruptive, extremely disruptive. You know, I think he needs to be a little more consistent, but on his good snaps when he's on it, he powers through whatever. From Ole Miss, I think that would be a great fit for the Lions, especially when they saw a lot of injuries go down on the offense or on the defensive line. They needed it. I think the Commanders are also going to be in line for a defensive lineman. However, I have the Commanders going with Mike Green at edge. The Commanders need an edge, offensive line, safety, and wide receiver. However, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Commanders grab extra picks as well, just to fill in roster spots. But I really like Mike Green. They've been saying Mike Green's an option to go earlier than what was predicted. He registered the second fewest. He's explosive. He's powerful. The Commanders definitely need to get sacks. What I was going to say was I've seen him go to the Falcons, who definitely need an edge player. That's why I think they're going with Mikael Williams. However, I've seen Mike Green go up to the Falcons. Speaking back to the Falcons, that's where I had that stat. Second fewest sacks in the league last year at 31. But that's a name definitely to watch. Mike Green's definitely a name to watch up there with the Falcons as well. If he does go that high, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Commanders trade out of 29. I wouldn't be surprised to see them grab a Josh Simmons, maybe draft Josh Connerly. They have a lot of options. Maybe Kenneth Grant is another guy. I could see Nick Scowerton. I've seen some drafts drop James Pierce to the second round, and I wouldn't be overly shocked at that as well. To wrap it up, I have the Bills going with Azariah Thomas, a corner. They have needs at corner, edge, and DT. I have Josh Simmons going to the Chiefs. They definitely need offensive line help. They're going with an offensive lineman. They need tackle, guard, and corner. I think offensive line is going to be a lock for them. In the Eagles, they don't really have many needs, edge, wide receiver, offensive line. Obviously, they're a big trench team. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon, is my pick to wrap up the first round. He wreaks havoc. He's kind of the prototypical type that the Eagles look for with players. He led the all FBS in pressures from a defensive tackle position with 34 last year. That's pretty much what the Eagles look for, is hard, physical guys. Those are some things to look for in the first. That's my mock draft of the first round. I noticed some things to look for as well in the first round. I actually expect there to be not that much movement. However, I expect my mock to be just basically thrown out after pick 14. You might as well just crumple up my mock and throw it out the window, because this draft is going to be just pure chaos. I think we're going to see a lot of players go earlier than what I have anticipated. I think we're going to see a lot of players go late. I think we're going to see some early activity probably through pick 10. After pick 10, I think it's going to calm down relatively, pretty calm until probably the early 20s. And there's also notes of late first round movement as well. Just teams trying to sneak in and get a pick before day 2. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Titans jump back into the first round to grab a defensive player, or probably grab a wide receiver. If you have Matthew Golden or Burden still still available late in the first round. I would not be surprised to see them jump back in. However, Cleveland does have that first selection in the second round. The Titans do not have that first selection. Round 2 goes Cleveland, Giants, and then the Titans. You could also see the Titans wait. Jaden Higgins is another guy. Luther Burden. It just depends on what they want to do. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Cleveland jump back into the first round, grab a quarterback if they got somebody they like still sitting around. Jackson Dart's still around late. If the Steelers don't go with him, maybe they want Shedeur Sanders. That's definitely some notes to watch for. Watch for the Bills to trade around as well. They usually always trade in the first round. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills steal someone the Chiefs would be looking for, an offensive tackle or something goofy. The Bills do like to, it seems like there's a lot of talk between both teams with, the Bills always give up something that the Chiefs want. And, maybe they might return the favor this year. But the end of round 1, definitely watch for some movement. Round 2, you might see the Giants even move into round 1 to grab a quarterback if they like it. Otherwise, Tyler Shaw is going to be a viable option in the top of round 2. Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, round 2. They could just wait and say that they're happy with what they got and wait until next year and see, the guy Aller come out of Penn State, see some other options as well. This draft's going to be very interesting. It's very top heavy. You have Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty above pretty much everyone else. Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, as the draft gets near, are saying they're more similar than what people are thinking. Mason Graham has some concerns about him as well. Will Campbell has some concerns about him as being a true tackle. I've read some things where they don't think Campbell, Banks, or Membu are true tackles. They could be used as guards as well. That's something to watch for. Running back is very deep. Obviously, Ashton Genty is above the rest. Then you have Amarian Hampton above everyone else. And then, Travion Henderson, and it kind of flows from there. You have the other guy from Ohio State, if I could think of names. But you have him as well that's available. Quinton Judkins is that guy from Ohio State I was thinking of. There's some options. You have Harold Fannin. He kind of played tight end, running back mix. That's what they're looking for. Caleb Johnson's another guy out of Iowa to watch for. He could move up. He could go at round 2. Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee is another running back that's going to be available. That's kind of hit or miss and mixed match. A lot of players that people have going round 3, round 2. You could see jump into the first. You could see players that people have going in the first round fall to round 3. This draft is going to be very crazy. And, I look forward to follow. If you want a lot of draft coverage, now Whistle, IESR, the show account, I will be tweeting about the Packers moves, what the Packers should be doing. This player got drafted. Okay, how do we regroup? What are we looking at for the Packers? My Dyhard at DYHARD account, every single pick I will post on there. So if you're not watching the draft, you can follow my Twitter. Also, I will be posting thoughts on pretty much the entire first round after round 1. I will not be posting every pick. Round 2, maybe the start of it, but round 1 definitely will be posting every pick. Definitely will giving thoughts on every pick. I have a lot of time. Obviously, between picks is round 1 takes 6 hours and the rest of the draft takes 5, is always the joke. However, this draft's going to be crazy. Expect a lot of crazy things. The Bucks play Friday, so that's mainly the big reason why rounds 2 and 3 won't be covered by me directly. However, I will be covering the Packers selections in rounds 2 and 3. I'll probably have 2 screens going with this. Figure out a way to make everything work. in order to follow the draft, because the draft's my favorite thing of the year, favorite non-football game of the year. So definitely will be paying attention to the draft. I love that it's in Green Bay, that I could actually cover it on my show. That's fantastic. But the Bucks play Friday, and that's what we're looking forward to, playing Friday, getting a victory, turning it around at home. Then they play Sunday night. At 8:30, and that's just stupid to me, but this is what we got to deal with. So that's game 4. Hopefully they bring it back to Indiana with its tied 2-2. Game 5 will be Tuesday, April 29th. So by next show, I hopefully will be talking about 3 Bucks wins. Game 6 will be Friday, May 2nd, and Game 7 is the following May 4th, Sunday. May the 4th be that Star Wars thing. But that will be the Game 7 if it need be. I predicted the Bucks will win in Game 6, so that means 4 straight victories, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for them. That would be fantastic. Make my show wonderful. And then we would be previewing round 2 if that doesn't start before the show. So that's my mock draft. I think the Bucks got these next 2 games. It will force a game 5 before my show, and I think they'll win that game as well. 3 straight games. It'll be a happy show next week. I'll also cover the Packers draft. You can follow IE Sports Radio on YouTube, on Twitter. You'll see my thoughts. Actually, Friday morning, you'll see my thoughts on the first round selection by the Packers. Saturday morning, you'll see my thoughts on day 2 picks. And Saturday, probably Sunday, I'll throw my thoughts on the Packers overall draft with a quick 1-minute video, and then we'll dive deeper into it next week. It's been fun. This is Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.